Imagine waking up to your 6-year-old daughter's terrified whisper, "Mommy, we need to escape now." In a quiet Boston suburb, Mary Wilson uncovers a chilling betrayal, her husband's secret plan to burn their home with her, and their daughter trapped inside, all for a fortune. How did a child's dream reveal a deadly plot? What dark secrets unraveled to expose a double life? This gripping tale of courage, deception, and a mother-daughter bond will keep you on the edge of your seat, desperate to know how they survived and who was behind it all. Watch to the end to find out, that grand old 2-story house in the Boston suburbs. Its elegant exterior stood proud, but inside traces of time whispered stories in every corner. The creaking floorboards in the entrance hall sang, with each step, the faint soot around the fireplace hinted at cozy nights long past, and the worn indentations in the stair railings felt like a warm embrace from history. To Mary Wilson, these weren't flaws. They were treasures, each one a piece of her heart's home. Emma, breakfast time. Mary's voice rang out from the kitchen, bright and cheerful, as she poured fresh orange juice into a glass, the citrus scent filling the air. Tall and graceful, Mary had an artistic air about her, with long brown hair, loosely tied back in a soft cascade. Her eyes, they sparkled with intelligence and a warmth that could melt the coldest morning. "Mommy, come quick. The clouds in the sky are making the funniest shapes," 6-year-old Emma shouted from the window, her voice bubbling with excitement. That girl, Emma's imagination was a wild, beautiful thing, turning even a passing cloud into the start of a grand adventure. "Yes, sweetheart, they're amazing, aren't they? But we're a bit rushed today. Your dad's swamped too." Richard chimed in, descending the stairs with his coffee cup in hand. Always polished, Richard was tall, handsome, and wore a charming smile that he flashed especially for work colleagues. Did he ever turn off that charisma? "I've got a huge business meeting this weekend," he announced, ruffling Emma's hair. "If it goes well, it's going to be a game changer. My little princess, when Daddy's back from this trip, I'll bring you the most wonderful present. Promise." Emma gazed up at him, eyes wide with trust. "Really, Daddy?" "Of course." Richard winked, his grin as dazzling as ever. Mary set the table quietly, but a tiny knot of unease tightened in her chest. Richard's words lately were they hiding something? Ever since her mother passed away 3 months ago, there'd been a subtle shift in him, like a shadow creeping into his demeanor. Was she imagining it? "So how's the prep going for that new exhibition at the Oliver Museum?" Richard asked, snapping her out of her thoughts. There's still so much to do," Mary replied, her passion flaring. "It's showcasing female artists of the 20th century, a project that means the world to me." Mary's talent as a museum curator was renowned, her love for art, a flame that had burned bright since she was a child. Sometimes, though, that fire pulled her away from family time, and Richard, he didn't always hide his frustration. "By the way, I got a call from Mother," Richard said casually, almost too casually. "She's visiting this weekend." Mary's heart sank. Helen Wilson, her mother-in-law, was the picture of upper-class poise, all polished manners on the surface. But underneath, her meddling and fierce attachment to Richard were impossible to ignore. To Helen, Richard was flawless, a golden son, while Mary, she was never quite good enough. "I see," Mary said, forcing a calm smile. "Emma will be thrilled, I'm sure." But the truth, Emma's feelings about her grandmother were tangled. Helen's affection came with strings, offered only when Emma acted the perfect little lady. After breakfast, Richard headed to work, and the house fell into a gentle hush. Mary sifted through her late mother's belongings, her fingers brushing over keepsakes as she pondered the substantial inheritance. What should she do with it? No plans felt right yet. "Mommy, look at this," Emma's voice broke through, bright and eager, as she bounded into Mary's office, clutching an old photograph. "Oh my goodness," Mary gasped softly, taking the photo. "This is Grandma and me when we were young. Do you miss her, sweetheart?" Emma nodded, her eyes soft and silent. "Grandma told me the truth," she whispered. "What do you mean, honey?" Mary asked, tilting her head. "It's a secret," Emma said, her face lit with a mysterious little smile. Mary chuckled. That vivid imagination. Later that evening, the phone rang. It was Richard. "I'm leaving early tomorrow morning," he said. "Gotta prep for that big meeting." "Okay," Mary replied, but a strange anxiety gnawed at her. Why did his voice sound so distant? At dinner, Emma was quieter than usual, her gaze fixed out the window, her small face etched with a worry no child should carry. "Emma, what's wrong?" Mary asked, brushing her daughter's forehead. "I saw Daddy and Grandma having a secret phone call," Emma murmured, her voice barely audible. "They didn't know I was there." Mary's heart skipped. "Oh, sweetie, Daddy makes lots of work calls. It's time for bed now, okay?" She tucked Emma in, but as she headed to her office to work on Art Foundation documents, her mind was elsewhere. Why couldn't she shake this unease? Staring into the dark, a heavy, nameless dread settled over her. The next morning, Richard left before dawn. While sorting museum materials, Mary caught sight of Emma at the window, her tiny frame rigid with tension. What was wrong with her lively little girl? "Emma, what are you looking at?" Mary asked, crossing the room. Emma turned her eyes, holding a depth that chilled Mary. "I'm waiting for something to come." "What's coming, honey?" Mary asked, forcing a smile. "I don't know, but Mommy, do you remember Grandpa's old basement?" Mary froze. The basement used by Emma's great-grandfather was sealed off when they bought the house. She'd never mentioned it to Emma. "Where did you hear about that in a dream?" Emma said. "There's a secret room down there, a place to hide when bad people come." Mary's heart raced. What an imagination. But that unease, it was growing. Old houses like this had places like that, but they're long gone, she said gently. Really, Emma's voice was small, uncertain. That evening, as Mary chopped vegetables for dinner, the phone rang. Helen's name flashed on the screen. Why did her stomach twist? "Hello, Helen," Mary said, brightening her tone. "Mary, has Richard left yet?" Helen's voice was tight, urgent. "Yes, early this morning. He should be there by now." "I see," Helen said, pausing. "Let me know if you hear from him. I need to discuss something important." "Is everything okay?" Mary pressed. "Just checking," Helen said, her tone icing over. "How's Emma?" "She's fine, just a bit quiet." "Children often know more than we think," Helen said, her words heavy with meaning. What was she implying? After hanging up, Mary heard a car engine outside. Peering out, she saw a man in a black coat circling the house, his movements deliberate. Who was he? "Emma," Mary called, rushing to the living room. "Let's stay inside today and draw, okay?" That night, Emma refused to sleep alone. "I want to stay in your room," she said. "Did you have a bad dream?" Mary asked. Emma shook her head. "Daddy and Grandma are planning something bad. I heard them." Mary's breath caught. "Sweetie, that's not true." "It is," Emma's voice rose. "I found house plans in Daddy's study. There's a secret passage, and he was on the phone saying perfect." Mary's pulse quickened. "All right, we'll sleep together tonight, but tomorrow we'll talk this out." After Emma drifted off, Mary called Richard. No answer. She texted him nothing. Staring at her mother's photo, she remembered a diary entry, worried about R. What had her mother known? Late that night, her phone buzzed. "Richard, coming back early tomorrow. Need to talk." Sleep eluded Mary. Emma's words echoed. Was her imagination running wild? Or did she know something? Rising, Mary crept to Richard's study. The door, usually locked, was ajar. Inside, everything seemed normal, but the bottom drawer always locked open. Inside was an envelope, life insurance documents. Heart-pounding, Mary read, "A high-value policy in her name, Richard as beneficiary, dated a week after her mother's death." "No," she whispered. Was Emma right? A car engine rumbled outside. Through the blinds, she saw a black SUV and a man on his phone. Fear gripped her as she slipped back to bed, Emma's sleeping form her only comfort. At 5:30 a.m., Mary woke to a car door slam. Was Richard back? Emma's hand grabbed her arm. "Mommy, we need to escape now." Emma's voice trembled, her eyes wide with terror. "Why, sweetheart? No time, we have to go." Emma's fear was real. "Okay," Mary said, grabbing cash, passports, and her mother's locket. Emma clutched her stuffed animal. Footsteps sounded at the front door, keys, then voices. "Emma, is that Daddy?" Mary whispered. "No," Emma hissed. "Daddy and Grandma want to kill you for Grandma's money. I heard Daddy say, if Mary's gone, it's all mine. Make it look like an accident." The insurance policy flashed in Mary's mind. "Let's go," she said, leading Emma downstairs. Richard's voice came from the living room, cold and unfamiliar. "Is everything ready? Timing's critical." Another voice, "I'll activate the system on your signal." Terror surged. Mary pulled Emma to the back door, but it was locked. Gasoline's sharp scent filled the air as shutters slammed down, trapping them. Emma, Mary cried. This way, Emma said, eerily calm. There's a hidden door behind the pantry. Behind the shelves, Emma opened a small door to a dark passage. Neither Daddy nor Grandma know this. Grandma told me in a dream. Smoke thickened as Mary followed Emma into the narrow, dusty passage. Was Richard capable of this? How did Emma know this leads to the shed? Emma said. An explosion rocked the house, urging them faster. A small door appeared opening to the shed's basement. They burst into the morning air, the house ablaze behind them. To Barbara's, Emma urged. At Barbara's, Mary gasped. Call the police. Richard tried to kill us. Barbara dialed 911 as sirens wailed. Mary told detectives about the insurance policy, Emma recounting Richard's chilling words. This is arson, the fire investigator confirmed, citing gasoline and a tampered security system. Richard's business trip was a lie. He was arrested with cash and fake IDs, blaming Helen. She in turn called him ungrateful, revealing their plot. Richard's debts mistress and greed for the inheritance unraveled. Mary's mother's diary hinted at his deceit. At trial, Emma's testimony, calm and clear, sealed their fate. Richard got 15 years, Helen 8. You saved us, Emma Mary said outside the courthouse. 6 months later in their cozy new home, Emma's art flourished and Mary planned a foundation reverse dream. A letter from her mother deepened suspicions about her death. On Christmas Eve, with counselor Michael Now, family Emma asked, "What's a real family?" "It's about love and protection," Mary said. Snow fell, and Mary held Emma tight. "Your courage gave us this new life." Their future shone bright. Oh, the quiet of that study was deceptive. The desk was a picture of order papers, neatly stacked, nothing out of place at first glance. But Mary's heart thudded as she tugged at the bottom drawer, always locked, yet tonight it gave way with a soft click. What was this? Inside an envelope stared back at her, boldly labeled life insurance documents. Her hands trembled like leaves in a storm as she tore it open. A high-value policy in her name with Richard as the beneficiary, dated just 1 week after her mother's death. This can't be real, Mary whispered, a chill creeping down her spine. Emma's eerie warning, could it actually be true? As she turned to flee the study, a low rumble outside stopped her cold. A car engine. Peering through a sliver in the blinds, she saw a black SUV parked in front of the house. An unfamiliar man stepped out, his phone pressed to his ear, his posture tense like he was waiting for a signal. Who was he? Mary's pulse raced as she hurried back to her room, slipping into bed beside Emma's sleeping form. Her heart pounded so loud she feared it might wake her daughter. Sleep came in fits and starts, and when the faint morning light crept through the window at 5:30, Mary gazed at Emma's peaceful face, her soft breaths a fleeting comfort. But that calm shattered with a sound, a car door slamming shut in the early morning silence, sharp and ominous. Was Richard back already? What was this important talk he'd texted about? The life insurance policy flashed in her mind, its implications clawing at her. Just as she moved to get up, Emma's small hand clamped onto her arm. Mary turned, startled to find Emma wide awake, her eyes brimming with terror. "Mommy," Emma's voice quaked. "We need to escape right now." The urgency in her tiny voice was chilling. "What? Why, sweetheart?" Mary asked, her mind reeling. Emma's body was rigid, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "There's no time, we have to leave the house now." Mary's thoughts spun. What was Emma so afraid of Richard? The mysterious man from last night. Whatever it was, her daughter's fear was undeniable. Something deep inside urged Mary to trust her. "All right, honey," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Get dressed fast, only grab what you need." She yanked a small bag from the closet, stuffing it with cash. Passports, her phone, and her mother's cherished locket, its cool metal grounding her. Emma scrambled into her clothes, clutching her favorite stuffed bunny tightly. "Mommy, hurry!" Emma pleaded, her eyes darting to the window. Footsteps echoed at the front door, the jangle of keys, then multiple sets of boots. Mary's heart lurched. "Emma, is that Daddy?" she whispered, forcing calm into her voice. "Do we really need to leave? Can't we just talk to him?" Emma shook her head fiercely. "No," she cried. "Daddy and Grandma want to kill you. They want the money Grandma left." Mary gasped, her breath catching. "Emma, how could you say that? I heard them." Emma's face was deadly serious. "Daddy was on the phone with Grandma. He said, If Mary's gone, everything's mine. Then, it just needs to look like an accident. The insurance policy burned in Mary's memory, its massive payout, Richard's name, the timing right after her mother's death. Emma's terrified expression sealed it. This wasn't just a child's imagination. "Okay," Mary said, her voice trembling. "We'll go quietly out the back door." They crept down the stairs, each a step agonizingly slow. But Richard's voice cut through from the living room, cold and unfamiliar. "Is everything ready?" he asked. "The security system's timing is critical." Another voice, low and gruff, replied, "Got it. I'll activate it on your signal." Mary froze, terror gripping her. She grabbed Emma's hand and bolted for the kitchen's back door, clutching their bag. She twisted the knob, but it wouldn't budge. "It's stuck," she hissed, panic rising. "Mommy," Emma whispered, "it's locked from the outside." A sharp chemical stench hit them. Gasoline. It seeped through the windows, choking the air. Then, with a mechanical whir, the house's security system sprang to life. No alarms, but metal shutters slammed down over every window and door, sealing them in. They were trapped, Emma. Mary cried, her voice breaking. She yanked at the shutters, desperate for an escape, but they held fast. Panic clawed at her, but Emma's steady voice cut through. "Mommy, this way," she said, calm as a beacon in the storm. "There's a hidden door behind the pantry." Mary followed, stunned, as Emma led her to the kitchen pantry. Behind the shelves, barely visible, was a small door. Emma shoved the shelves aside and tugged a hidden handle. The door creaked open, revealing a dark, narrow passage. "Emma, how?" Mary gasped. "Daddy and Grandma don't know about this," Emma said, pride in her voice. "Grandma told me in my dream." Mary hesitated. Was this a trap? But the crackle of fire echoed somewhere in the house, and Smoke's acrid bite grew stronger. They had no choice. "You go first, Emma. I'm right behind you," Mary urged, guiding her daughter into the passage. The tunnel was ancient, a forgotten servant's path, thick with dust and cobwebs that clung to their clothes. They crouched to move the walls, pressing close. "Mommy, you okay?" Emma asked, glancing back. Her face held no fear, only a strange certainty, as if guided by an unseen hand. "I'm fine," Mary lied, forcing a smile. Her heart pounded with questions. Was Richard truly capable of murder for her mother's inheritance? And how did Emma know this passage? The tunnel sloped downward, burrowing underground. "Do you know where this goes?" Mary asked. "Yes," Emma replied. "To the shed in the garden. Grandma told me." Smoke thickened behind them, and a deafening boom shook the house. The fire was spreading fast. They crawled faster, desperation driving them. A faint light appeared ahead, a small door in the basement wall. Emma pushed, and it opened with a groan of rusty hinges, revealing the shed's underground space. "Hurry," Mary cried, lifting Emma and racing up the shed's stairs. They burst through the door into the crisp morning air, gasping with relief. Behind them, their house was a roaring inferno, black smoke billowing into the sky. Sirens wailed in the distance. "Mommy, let's go to Barbara's," Emma urged. Barbara, Mary's dear friend, lived just 2 houses away. Mary clutched Emma tightly. "Emma, you saved my life," she choked out, tears stinging her eyes. Emma looked up, her gaze calm and wise beyond her years. "Grandma's watching over us. She knew Daddy's plan." Mary shivered at her daughter's words. How could a 6-year-old speak with such certainty? They hurried to Barbara's, soot-streaked and shaken. Barbara was brewing coffee when she opened the door, her eyes widening at their state. "Mary, what happened?" she gasped, ushering them inside. "Barbara, call the police." Mary's voice shook. "Richard set the house on fire. He tried to kill us." The words sounded insane, but Barbara didn't hesitate, grabbing her phone. Outside, smoke curled into the sky, and sirens grew louder. Fire trucks and police swarmed the Wilson house, now a blazing ruin. As firefighters battled the flames, officers took Mary and Emma's statements. Mary, dazed but resolute, insisted, "This wasn't an accident, it was attempted murder." The detective raised an eyebrow. "That's a serious claim, ma'am. Any evidence?" With shaking hands, Mary pulled out her phone, showing photos of the insurance policy. "I found this in Richard's study last night. A huge policy in my name with him as beneficiary, signed right after my mother's death." The detective frowned, unconvinced. "We'll need more than that." "My daughter heard him," Mary said, resting a hand on Emma's shoulder. Emma spoke softly but clearly. Daddy was talking to Grandma on the phone. He said, if Mary's gone, everything's mine. Then, make it look like an accident. The detective softened, kneeling to Emma's level. When did you hear this, kiddo? 3 days ago outside Daddy's study, Emma said, her details precise. He didn't see me. He was looking at house plans saying the security system was ready. By afternoon, the fire investigators' findings shook the scene. This is arson, he declared. Gasoline traces everywhere, and the security system was rigged to lock remotely. Detectives scrambled to find Richard. His business trip was a lie, colleagues hadn't heard of it. That evening, police nabbed him at a gas station on the interstate, his car stuffed with cash and fake IDs. I'm innocent, he shouted in interrogation. My mother made me do it. Helen was arrested at her home, poised at first, but she crumbled when she heard Richard's betrayal. That ungrateful boy, she spat. I gave him everything. The investigation peeled back their chilling plot. Richard, drowning in debt, had a mistress and eyed Mary's inheritance to fund a new life. Mary's mother's diary revealed she'd suspected him declining his shady investment pitch. At trial, Emma's testimony, steady and haunting, clinched it. Richard got 15 years for attempted murder and arson. Helen 8 for conspiracy. Outside the courthouse, Mary hugged Emma. You saved us, sweetheart. 6 months later, in their cozy new home, Emma's art shone, and Mary planned Reverse Dream, a foundation for young artists. A letter from her mother deepened suspicions about her death, sparking a new investigation. On Christmas Eve, with counselor Michael now family, Emma asked, "What's a real family?" "It's love and protection," Mary said, smiling. Snow fell softly, and Mary held Emma close. Your courage gave us this new life. Their future glowed with hope. Ma'am, that's a heavy accusation, the older detective said, his brow furrowed with skepticism. Got any proof to back it up? Mary's hands shook like autumn leaves as she fumbled for her phone, her heart pounding. Last night I found something chilling, she said, pulling up the photos. Life insurance documents hidden in my husband's study. A massive policy in my name taken out just weeks ago. The detective studied the images, his frown deepening. This is suspicious, but it's not enough on its own. Anything else? Mary's voice trembled, but she stood firm, resting a hand on Emma's small shoulder. My daughter Emma, she overheard something terrifying. Emma's voice was soft but steady, cutting through the tension. Daddy was talking to Grandma on the phone. He said, if Mary's gone, everything's mine. And then, the trick is to make it look like an accident. The detective's eyes softened as he knelt to Emma's level. That's quite a story, kiddo. When and where did you hear this? 3 days ago outside Daddy's study, Emma replied, her details sharp and unwavering. He didn't see me. He was on the phone looking at old house plans saying the security system was all set. The detective's expression shifted. Could this 6-year-old's words hold the key? By afternoon, the scene was chaos. The fire investigator's voice boomed over the crackling remains of the Wilson house. This is no accident, it's arson. Gasoline traces are all over, and the security system deliberately rigged to lock the windows and doors from the outside. Mary's stomach churned. Had Richard really planned this? Detectives scrambled to track him down, and the truth unraveled fast. His so-called business trip, a complete lie. His colleagues at the investment firm were stunned, saying Richard never mentioned any trip. That evening, police cornered him at a gas station on the interstate, his car stuffed with fake IDs and wads of cash. I'm innocent, Richard bellowed in the interrogation room, his voice desperate. This was all my mother's scheme. She forced me into it. Helen Wilson's arrest followed her polished facade, holding firm at first. But when she heard Richard's betrayal, that ungrateful son, she spat her composure, shattering. I poured my life into him. The investigation peeled back layers of a sinister plot. Richard, it turned out, was drowning in debt, his flashy job at the investment firm, nothing but a front. A mistress, a secret life, and a hunger for Mary's mother's inheritance. Could he stoop any lower? He'd been living a lie for years, the detective told Mary, his voice heavy. After your mother's death, he got greedy, impatient that you hadn't touched the estate yet. Mary's mind reeled. Did my mother suspect him? She whispered. Astonishingly, her mother's diary held the answer, a chilling entry. Richard pitched an investment, but I refused. His company's in ruins. She tried to warn Mary only to pass away suddenly from illness. 3 months later, the trial gripped the courtroom. The prosecutor laid out damning evidence phone records revealing Richard and Helen's cold-blooded scheme to stage Mary and Emma's deaths as an accident. Richard Wilson planned to murder his wife and daughter for money. The prosecutor thundered to the jury. He tampered with the security system, trapping them in a house he set ablaze. Richard's defense flailed, first pleading mental instability, then pivoting to pin it all on Helen. "My mother controlled me," he cried. "I couldn't break free." But Helen's fury erupted, her testimony raw and unfiltered. "I did everything for my son's happiness," she snapped. "Mary was never good enough for him. I thought her death would set him free to soar." Yet the trial's heart-stopping moment came from Emma. With a poise that silenced the room, the 6-year-old recounted her father's chilling words, the house plan she'd found, and a dream where her grandmother, Mary's mother, revealed the secret passage. "Who's this grandma?" the prosecutor asked gently. "Mommy's mommy," Emma said simply. "She told me Daddy was planning something bad." A hush fell over the jurors, their eyes misty. How could a child's courage shine so brightly? The verdict was swift. Richard guilty, sentenced to 15 years for attempted murder and arson. Helen, convicted of conspiracy, got 8 years. Outside the courthouse, Mary clung to Emma, tears streaming. "You saved our lives, my brave girl." Emma gazed up, her eyes soft but certain. "Mommy, it's just us now, right?" "No, sweetheart," Mary said, her smile warm. "We have each other, and I swear Grandma's watching over us." Hand in hand, they walked into a new chapter. 6 months later, on a crisp autumn afternoon, Mary stood at the window of their new home, a cozy haven in a quiet Boston suburb. The garden outside swirled with dancing leaves, each one a promise of renewal. Their old mansion was gone, but this house, it brimmed with love and warmth. "Mommy, look at this." Emma burst in from school waving a drawing, her face alight with pride. "My teacher says it's going in the art exhibition." Mary took the paper, her heart swelling. 3 women herself, Emma and her mother, glowed in vibrant colors. "Oh, Emma, it's breathtaking. Grandma would be so proud." Emma beamed. "Mommy, I'm so glad I told you to escape that day." "Me too, my love," Mary said, pulling her into a tight hug. Emma's resilience, nurtured by their counselor Michael Foster, was nothing short of miraculous. She'd made friends at her new school, her artistic talent blossoming like a spring flower. Mary, too, was healing, pouring her heart back into her work at the Oliver Museum. With her mother's inheritance, she was crafting a legacy, a foundation for young female artists. "Got a name for it?" Yet Emma asked, tilting her head. "I'm thinking reverse dream." Mary said, her smile radiant. "A first step toward new dreams. How's that sound?" Meanwhile, Richard's prison days were grim. He filed endless appeals, ranting, "This is all a lie, spun by Mary's delusions and Emma's wild imagination." But the evidence was ironclad, bolstered by colleagues who exposed his years of deceit. The cruelest twist, his bond with Helen, once unbreakable, lay in ruins. His trial betrayal had severed their tie, leaving Helen a broken figure in prison, known as the saddest inmate. "It was all for my son," she'd murmur to anyone who'd listen. One quiet day, Mary sifted through her mother's belongings, her fingers lingering on faded keepsakes. Tucked among old notebooks was an envelope, its edges yellowed. Inside, a letter from her mother dated 2 weeks before her death. "Richard came to me with an investment deal, but I turned him down. Juan Bu system." Oh, what a tangled web of deceit and bravery. The courtroom was electric as the detective pressed Mary for evidence, his skepticism palpable. "Ma'am, that's a grave charge. Got anything solid?" Mary's hands quaked as she pulled out her phone, her voice fierce. "You bet I do. Last night I found life insurance papers in Richard's study, a huge policy in my name, taken out right after my mom died." The detective's eyes narrowed at the photos. It's a start, but we need more." Mary didn't flinch, her hand on Emma's shoulder. "My daughter heard something chilling," she declared. Emma, small but unshakable, spoke up. "Daddy told Grandma on the phone, 'If Mary's gone, it's all mine.' He said it had to look like an accident." The detective softened, crouching down. "When was this little one?" 3 days ago by Daddy's study," Emma said, clear as day. "He was looking at house plans, saying the security system was ready. By afternoon, the fire scene was a bombshell." The investigator shouted, "This is arson. No question. Gasoline everywhere, and the security system was rigged to lock them in. Richard's business trip a sham. His co-workers were clueless, saying, "Trip what trip?" That night, cops nabbed him at a gas station, his car stuffed with fake IDs and cash. "I'm innocent," he roared in interrogation. "My mother made me do it." Helen's arrest followed, her icy calm cracking when she heard Richard's betrayal. "That ungrateful boy," she snarled. "I gave him everything." The investigation uncovered a sickening plot: Richard buried in debt with a mistress and a plan to snatch Mary's mom's inheritance. "He was a fraud for years," the detective told Mary, shaking his head. "Your mom's death made him greedy." Mary's heart sank. "Did she know?" she whispered. "Her mom's diary revealed the truth. Richard's company is a mess. I said no to his deal." She tried to warn Mary before her sudden death. The trial was a spectacle. The prosecutor laid it bare. Richard Wilson schemed to kill his wife and daughter for money, rigging the house to burn. Richard's defense wobbled, claiming insanity, then blaming Helen. "She controlled me," he whined. Helen exploded, spilling years of obsession. "Mary wasn't worthy," she spat. "I wanted Richard to shine." But Emma stole the show, her tiny voice steady, as she recounted her dad's words and a dream from her grandma, Mary's mom, about a secret passage. "Whose grandma?" the prosecutor asked. "Mommy's mommy," Emma said. "She warned me." The jurors wept. Her courage saved lives. Richard got 15 years for attempted murder. Helen 8 for conspiracy. Outside, Mary hugged Emma tight. "You're my hero," Emma smiled. "It's just us now, Mommy." "No, we've got each other, and Grandma's watching," Mary said, beaming. 6 months later, their new home glowed with warmth, leaves swirling outside. Emma ran in, waving a drawing. "It's for the art show," she chirped. 3 women, Mary, Emma, her mom, shown in color. "Grandma would love it." Mary gasped, hugging her. Emma, bolstered by counselor Michael, thrived, her art blooming. Mary, healing, dove into her museum work and planned Reverse Dream, a foundation for young artists. "A new beginning," she told Emma. Richard, in prison, ranted about delusions, but evidence buried him. His bond with Helen shattered. She languished, muttering, "For my son." Mary found a letter from her mom: "Richard's a fraud." Dated weeks before her death, it sparked a new probe. Could her passing be foul play? Christmas Eve found Mary, Emma, and Michael by the fire, now family. "What's a real family?" Emma asked. "It's love, not control," Mary said softly. Emma grinned at Michael. "You in?" he chuckled. "We'll talk." Snow fell, and Mary held Emma close. "Your bravery gave us this life." Their future sparkled with hope.